Hello you guys, welcome to this video. So today we're going to do some plant care, and it's also going to be kind of like a little plant tour because I feel like I haven't really shown you guys my indoor plants in a while, and that's just because I've been busy kind of putting my energy into other things like doing house stuff, outdoor gardening stuff, and then also I've been having a lot of fun making vlogs, like filming them and editing them. And yeah, when I create content, I kind of just like to do what I feel most excited about. And I still really love like my houseplants. I just have been more excited about other things recently, but now that we're more settled into this house, I kind of want to put more time and energy into my houseplants again. Let's start with this little plant. I just got this recently at a flea market. I can't remember its name. I know its common name is like something Medusa. But yeah, lately I've been bringing a watering can and watering all my plants where they are because my sink isn't really like the best sink for watering plants because it doesn't have one of those spouts that you can like take off and shower them with, if you know what I mean. So yeah, I'm gonna go get my little watering can and then water a bunch of these. This plant has a saucer that's attached to the pot, which is really useful. Also, you guys, I feel like my approach to plants and like plant care has kind of changed since I started keeping plants, but also since I started this channel. I think before I was very focused on like growing the biggest, best individual plants that I could. And I really didn't care that much about like how I integrated them into my space. Like my old bedroom in my college house, yeah, that was pretty crazy. I probably wouldn't do that again. And now I think I focus more on how I can integrate them into my space without the whole room being dedicated to plants. This new approach that I kind of have is more sustainable for me in terms of keeping this hobby and this interest enjoyable, because otherwise it kind of feels like a lot of work when you're repotting stuff, watering, fertilizing, giving things new plant stakes. Like that can all really add up and make it sort of stressful. So now I'm watering this Platysterum ridleyi that's in this pretty cool bowl. What I normally do is I just fill up the bowl and then I let it sit and then it soaks up the water. That's all I've been doing. Sometimes I'll fertilize the plant by spraying it with the foliar spray. But other than that, this is all I do, and it's growing pretty well. It's putting out a new leaf right now. I feel like this is just turning into a plant tour, but I want to show you guys my ant fern. It's growing a bunch of new leaves. I am actually surprised that I'm keeping it alive because I'm not really giving it the best care in terms of water. So apparently they want like distilled water or reverse osmosis water, but I've just been giving it tap water and it's growing pretty well. These little growths, they look so interesting. And then the little leaves that are about to emerge, little tendrils. This is an Anthurium ace of spades, and I've just been holding on to it, but I don't know if I want it because it always grows kind of weird. Then also over here I have my Welwitschia mirabilis. Doesn't look like much, but it's grown so much since I first got it. Yeah, we might repot this in this video later when we go outside. Here I just put some of my terrariums because I'm not sure exactly where I want to put them yet, but I'm giving them pretty good light right here because no direct sunlight comes in during this season. So they just get really good like bright indirect light. And then this is my giant Dracaena reflexa. I love this plant. Normally I water this plant with a bigger watering can because it is pretty large. But yeah, I just water it right here and there's a saucer underneath. And yeah, it's one of my favorite plants. And then here's my Begonia gogoensis. Really like that guy. I already watered these plants on my bookshelf wall. Yeah, Spiritus Sancti, Pleiopeperomioides, Rookrat cactus, and then some type of Ripsalis. Here's my philodendron white wizard. It looks super weird because I need to repot it and I need to stake it. And I might do that in this video later when we go outside, but I don't know because I'm not sure if I have a pot for this plant. Growing so weird. I was thinking of cutting it, but I think it is kind of cool because it is growing in such a strange way. My philodendron upii, I just watered this one. I have to get on a stool and then I take it off and then I water it in the sink actually. And then this one I just leave here and then I water it with the watering can because this is just too hard to move. This is also a neglected philodendron. And also thank you guys for your input on whether you thought the floor lamp or the table lamp looked better here. Honestly, it felt pretty even in what people were saying, but more people lean towards the floor lamp. And I think I agree. It's just a little bit more practical and it gives more light. And it also feels a little bit less cluttered in this area. Now let's go to the dining room and kitchen area. So this is where I have my big fish tank. And do I want to do a water change? No, I think I'm just gonna top it off. I'll do a water change later. So yeah, I just fill this thing up with this big watering can, maybe like once a week. Check out the carnivorous plants that are growing on top. This is my Utricularia. I believe it's a longifolia species. And look, it is flowering. This is my first Utricularia flower that I've ever had. And I'm very excited because I got this plant for its flowers because I saw TikTok a long time ago, like 2 years ago. And what's pretty impressive about these carnivorous plants is that they're all growing in tap water. They're probably not growing like the best they can, but I mean, they're alive, so. And then up here is where I have my mini staghorn fern wall coming together. I'm planning to add a few more to it, but right now this is what we have. So the way that I check to see if they need water is I touch the bottom of their moss substrate, and if it's still a little bit moist, then I don't water, but if it's like dry and kind of flaky, then I do water. So these three seem fine. This one's a little bit crusty, you can hear it. Here, I'll bring it closer to the mic. Can you guys hear that? Normally I water my staghorn ferns outside, but yeah, let's just go out and water it really quick. Okay, so I have this little nail in this tree that I use to mount this staghorn fern, but whenever I want to water my other ones, I just take it off and then put it on the nail, and then I water from the top. Also, this area is super messy because it's where I just have like all my extra plant supplies. So yeah, excuse that. I'll figure it out eventually. Then I just let it sit there for a little bit to dry. It's been so nice to have an outdoor area to water my plants and also to repot plants because I don't have to worry too much about things getting messy. I mean, it's pretty messy back there, but you know what I mean. Oh, also, do you guys remember how we planted some mixed seed out here? I think I had sweet alyssum, clover, and then some fescue grass. And the sweet alyssum are now blooming just a little bit. They just started blooming. There's a lot of weeds mixed in with this, and it looks pretty weedy, but I mean, it's better than just like bare dirt. I don't know if you guys remember this Tomatophyllum xanadu, but it went through a little bit of a rough patch and it had no leaves for a little bit, and now it's coming back. I had it outside, so it got kind of damaged, but now that it's inside, the newer leaves are coming out really nice. Just waiting for it to get bigger. I think it'll look good once it fills this space out. And then this Hoya is just there because I saw this Pinterest picture where someone had a Hoya on their window and it was super huge and it was like covering the entire window and it looked really nice. But I think my Hoya is going to take a while to get to that point and it needs a new pot. It's just in a plastic pot. And then, oh, up here. So this is just a plant that is in a glass vessel that has water in it because I really don't like watering hanging plants. It's just kind of difficult because you have to water it and then you wait for it to drain before you can put it back up. So it's like a kind of a time-consuming task. So instead of actually potting it in the planter, here, let me show you guys. It's just sitting in here, but you can't even tell from below. So here's my Pachira aquatica, or my money tree that is way too big for its pot, but I like it in this pot, so I'm keeping it in here. And this Anthurium and this Hoya, I also don't really know what I want to do with them yet, so they are sitting here. They're growing really well. I think those are like all the plants on the lower level, on the first floor. So now let's go upstairs, fill up my watering can first. Okay, let's go. And here I have this Philodendron Florida Beauty, and I really like this here. I think it would look better if it was the only plant here, but I just wanted these to get some good bathroom light because we have some pretty good windows in here. But yeah, I like how it's kind of like sprawling out from this corner. Here, I'm gonna help this leaf. You should go this way. Sometimes I'll take this plant down and water it outside with the hose, but typically I'll just come in here and water it where it is. So I know that it's best for the plant to water it all the way through, but I found that like the plant will do fine if I just water it where it is. It just makes it a lot easier because you don't have to take the plant, bring it to the sink, water it, let it drain, and then bring it back. So I've just been enjoying doing a lot of like lower maintenance plant care lately. Next up is this Anthurium clarinervium. So while I was in Vietnam, Chris was taking care of my plants. It's the only plant that kind of like suffered in Chris's care. And I totally understand why, because I told him for every plant, make sure that you water it all the way through. So you bring it to the sink and then water it and then stop once you see a bunch of water come out. And this was the only plant that I had that didn't have drainage holes. And so I think Chris just didn't know that I had any plants that didn't have drainage holes in their pot. So he watered it and was like waiting for the water to come out. So I guess he thought that he wasn't watering it enough, and then he just like completely filled up the pot with water. I think it was like up to here in water. And when I got home, I was like, wait, what is wrong with this? And then I dumped out so much water from this pot. But look at it. Look at this new leaf. It's coming back. I think I might remove these dead leaves. Well, this one I'll definitely remove. But I might remove the damaged leaves just because, I don't know, they're pretty ugly. Even though I know it's really beneficial for the plant because they're still photosynthesizing and the new growth can use the nutrients from the old leaves. But I don't know, it just looks ugly, so I think I'm actually just gonna cut it off. Goodbye leaves. So yeah, I don't recommend doing this necessarily, but for aesthetic reasons I just kind of want these leaves gone because this plant has just been like looking really bad for a while, so I just want it to be pretty again. Oh, and then for the longest time I was kind of struggling with this plant. Like the new leaves would always come out weird, but after I put it in this bathroom, it produced this really nice perfect leaf. I need to give it a new pot and then I think it'll look really good. I'm just gonna water this one a little bit. I'll bring it down later probably for like a thorough drench, but just to top it off since it's kind of dry right now. So here we are in the bedroom, and the bedroom is probably the least finished room in our entire house. We haven't really done anything to it besides set up our bed. But this little beanbag is here so Theo can go up onto the bed by himself. This one is definitely going to stay in the room because it gets really good sunlight, and I don't know, it's a cool statement plant. It's just so tall now and it's growing all the way up to the ceiling. So I'm not sure what I'm gonna do with it now that it's like reaching the top. I think I'm gonna just let it grow and see how it grows into the space naturally, because it could be cool to have like an overhanging monstera. This plant is really heavy and difficult to move, so I just water it in place. I said this in the last video, but this area is kind of just like the plants that I don't know what to do with them, but I want to give them good light. So this was my monstera that we had near the entrance of the apartment. I wanted to see how well it would do outside when we first got to this house because I didn't know where we would put it inside. And I left it outside for a while and it did really bad. And the leaves kind of got burned and all the edges got crispy. It was a mix of too much sun, but also super heavy rains where it rained almost like every day for about a week. I just started putting out a new leaf back here, and I don't know where I'm gonna put it. I might bring it downstairs, but this is a pretty good spot for now. And every plant that I bring upstairs into the bedroom grows so well. I think it's a mixture of heat and the light. So this is an east-facing window, and then the window that's over here is south facing. This is my little anthurium that I need to repot. I need to go on a plant pot shopping trip because there's a lot of plants that I need to repot. I just don't have pots for them. Like, look at these roots. Also, this leaf came out wonky because I tried to help it unfurl and I messed it up. But that's okay. I'm gonna bring some of these plants downstairs once we're done up here, and then we're gonna water them outside. Like this Monstera aurea needs to be watered. So I talked about this plant in the plant tour at our old apartment, and I said that I might throw this plant away because it just keeps browning on me because the variegation is very sectoral. Like this whole portion that is brown was all variegated, and same with this portion. So I said I would give it away or honestly just toss it if it doesn't kind of get get itself together. And so far, the new leaf is doing pretty well and it hasn't browned yet. I've been using a silica liquid addition to my water whenever I water this plant. And apparently that's supposed to help with variegation. I saw this one TikTok about it and I didn't fact check it. Yeah, don't like quote me on this information, but I've been using that and I think it's helping with maintaining the variegated portions because it might just be placebo, but I feel like the leaves are thicker. I don't know if this is just me like knowing that I'm using silica. Here's my Monstera Burlmarks Flame. I think I'll take this one down to water too. Needs a new pot, needs a larger pot. But the leaves are sizing up and getting more fenestrations. This is the first leaf that has fenestrations on both sides. Look at how frosty, I don't know what I'd call this, like powdery, frosty, silvery this looks. The name is Platycerium Omo Polar Bear, and it's some type of cultivar. And I think it's such a cute name. I just love how this plant looks. It needs to be mounted. It's grown so much. It used to be only these two leaves, this leaf and this leaf. Yeah, look how much it's grown. Good job. And then this is a Rhopsalis that I got from that one guy on Facebook Marketplace. I know. I started it with just like a plant care video, but I realized that I haven't updated you guys like enough on my indoor plants. So I feel like you guys are kind of out of the loop. So yeah, this video is kind of giving plant tour. Maybe I should just call it a plant tour. I need to repot this plant. So many plants, I need to repot them, but I just haven't. And this is definitely one of them. We can only keep one leaf at a time. And I think if I potted it into a larger pot, it would do a lot better, but I don't know. I need to find a bigger pot. And then I also need to find a place to put this plant in its bigger pot. So yeah, that's my dilemma. Over here, this is my Monstera albo, and I need to water this plant. And I'm also thinking of propagating this plant and cutting it because it's just been giving me so much white, which is pretty, but it just always ends up browning eventually because it's so white in a lot of portions. So I might cut it at a place where it's less variegated. That way I can get more consistent green like this because these leaves don't really end up browning. I'll bring that one down to water too. Let's bring these plants down outside. Got my hat on, got Theo on my back. So I just put them out here and then I use the hose and I water them, and it makes this watering process just like so much easier. So there's some clovers on the lawn, and then sweet alyssum, and then fescue grass, and then some other things, like some other weeds probably. But it looks pretty cute, honestly. And then over here in our little native plant plot, everything's doing really well. It's growing a lot, like it's filling out really nicely, and then we have some flowers going. And then now we have to water some outdoor plants. So I'll show you guys how I do that. So I got this big watering can from IKEA. So what I do is I fill this up with water and then I go around and water. It would be easier if we had a really long hose, but there's this thing that happened during the fire where the hose like melted onto the spigot. And so now we can't change out the hose or add a hose attachment to it. So yeah, I just use the watering can because it's easier to water since it has like a sprinkling head on it. Okay, so I need to water my ponytail palm a little bit. Dioscorea elephantips. From what I remember, they go dormant in the summer and then they start growing leaves again in the winter. And this one's my Dorstinia gigas. Oh, and then here's my spiral aloe. I really like this plant and it started growing a lot better now that I have it out here. Before I had it on my balcony in the apartment and it just wasn't getting enough light. Let's walk down this way. This isn't my plant. This was already on the property and it's probably been here for many years. And it just started blooming kind of recently. It still has more inactive, or like it has blooms that are still turning into flowers and stuff. So it has like flower buds. But these flowers are so pretty. some type of tropical cactus. Don't know the genus or the species, but it's a pretty popular plant. Okay, and then over here we have some potted California natives. I'm just gonna give them a little bit of watering. Everything's still coming together. Like, none of the stuff is where I want it to be. This stuff just takes time. Yeah. But eventually, all of this area will be decorated with plants and maybe some furniture stuff. Oh, and this is the Norfolk pine that we got from Facebook Marketplace. Oh, and then I also got this Japanese maple from Facebook Marketplace. I thought this area would look really good with some red in it, since none of these plants are red. So I thought like a red pop of color would be really nice. I'm gonna like plant some plants and repot the Wallachia. So I'm gonna bring Theo back inside because it's not super easy to like dig and stuff with him on my back. I wanted to repot this plant, but now that I'm looking at it, I don't know if it needs to be repotted, because I'm pretty sure the Wallachia doesn't like to be moved around. Also, this pot isn't even like that much larger, so I don't know if it'd be worth it to disrupt the root system. So I'm gonna do a little bit more research and ask some other Wallachia growers to see what they think, because it's been growing pretty consistently and I don't want to disrupt that. So yeah, I might just leave it in here for maybe another growing season. So I think what I'm gonna do then is just plant this fern that I have outside. So this is my fern that I want to plant. It's a Woodwardia something. Woodwardia fimbriata. So the common name is giant chain fern, and it's a California native fern. And I thought this would be a perfect spot for it because there's a little planter box right here and it gets shade. So yeah, this is a good place for like a fern. And I think this area would look so cool if there was just like a bunch of these ferns. And hopefully it spreads on its own, but I might just buy more ferns and then plant them. So I don't know if the big fern will fit, but the other size fern that I have is this wide, but this is way too small, so. So I planted this little monstera there, and it's actually growing pretty well. Maybe I should have left it. I think I'm gonna move this bird's nest fern and then put that where the bird's nest fern is. Now I have to clean this mess up, and I'm gonna bring in my houseplants because they're done drying probably. Hope you guys enjoyed this planty video, and I will see you in the next one. Okay, goodbye.